Hello again and welcome back everybody to another edition of the Ruhr Report. I am your Roto2IC and today we're going to continue our coverage on the daily headlines report where we go over news and headlines from around the world here in the continental US. So as I said last night, I'm going to try and play a little bit of catch up. So this one might be just a hair longer than normal, but I'm going to do my best to try and keep some of this to a minimum. But buckle up, and there's some interesting things here. There might be a part two later tonight. I don't know. I have to go over some more different topics, and I'm looking into some different things. So we will see. A heads up: there may be a small. I was there may not be a report for tomorrow. I'm going to be doing some traveling. I'm going to go see some family and whatnot. Um, I am going to be shooting content, but it is way out in the sticks, so there's no cell phone reception and things out there. So it'll depend on what time I get back and edited and things like that. So there may not be a report. If not, then there would definitely be one Sunday, which I am in talks. I'm probably going to be doing an interview on Sunday. So depending on how fast I can get that edited, there may be a special interview coming out Sunday. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this because I said I'm going to try and keep it short. And I'm already rambling on. All right, so first, the United States was the only country to veto the UN resolution for an immediate ceasefire. Now, out of everybody that voted, everybody voted for the ceasefire except for two. One abstained and one voted against. The vote against was the United States. Now, the reasoning behind this is that Washington does not allow requests for a ceasefire because such actions would sow the seeds for the next war. Now, I have been saying that a ceasefire not be a bad idea. I see both sides to this. Okay, I fully get it, and in that context, yeah, I agree. I've been saying for quite a while though, when you have a group of people, now you're not talking about somebody saying like somebody with six fingers. Okay, you're not going to go out here and be like, oh, the people with six fingers are bad. We got to go get them all because they're very easily identified and you could, in theory, go eliminate that six-fingered evil group. But when you're talking about something like this, they're all over the place. It's not just people on a piece of dirt. They're all over the world, and unless you're going to go on a worldwide hunting expedition, which good luck, you're never going to get rid of it. So it's one of those ones. There's got to be other means. Because when you have something of a group of people, whether it's religious, whether it's something of ideology, whatever it is, you you really can't eradicate it. Sadly enough, you can't. Okay, and your best thing to do is education and try and get it to where there's common sense into it. And so, looking at things from both sides, you see people that are a part of a bad group of people, and you have to at least admire their story that they grew up generation after generation with the same religious belief or the same ideology belief that a certain group of people or a certain whatever is bad, and you go out and you hurt people and you do things, and as they got older they realized no, hurting people is wrong, and they convert out of that. They don't want to be a part of it, and so it's one of those that if you show people, because I have a belief that I would say 95% of people all over the planet, regardless of age, religion, country, whatever, I would say 95% of the people on the planet just want to be left alone. They just want to live their lives. Just leave me alone. Let me do my thing. You stay over there. I'll stay over here, and just let me live my life. Okay, that's what most people really want, at least in my opinion. And so that 5%, seems to come around and mess all that up for everybody. And let's move on. So the New York Times has come out and they have quoted a senior, let me put this up here, a senior Israeli official. I love how they do that. That the Iranian leadership is pressuring the Houthis. So that way, if they raise the tension enough and raise the level of threat, then it may create an all-out regional war, which would then put international attention on Israel to stop or at least do a ceasefire. Now that's interesting because before I go into my thought on this, so when you're talking about the Houthis and the attacks that they're doing, there is, at least what I can tell on different social medias and different other things where public opinion's coming out, that there is a growing American outcry for some sort of retaliation or some sort of rebuttal to the attacks. My concern here is that a lot of these people that are saying this are forgetting one single word, and that is petrodollar. Because the threats that the Houthis have come out is that if other people get involved, they're going straight after gas and oil. Okay, what is petrodollar? It's tied into gas and oil. They've already demonstrated that they have the ability and the willingness to follow up on those threats, so it should be taken serious. Now, the places that they could attack isn't significant that it's going to just make the whole world stop turning, but it will put a strain, especially not only attacking the oil fields themselves, or attacking refineries, but closing the channel to where what is already produced cannot get shipped as easily, begins to raise prices, and therefore would start to take things off your dinner plate. So it's just a data point. Okay, I'm not backing any side. I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't or anything like that. It's just a data point. Now, I did see in Bloomberg that they put out a report that the U.S. has been in some talks with its Gulf allies about a possible and potential military action against the Houthis. So I would say, and again, my opinion, that this is a explore all avenues out of what we could do. They're searching out the different possibilities. They're wargaming this out, which is a good thing. And so they're in talks. They're laying some groundwork. If this happens, what can we do? What's our options? Now, will they do it? I don't know. Because right now you have a ton of people involved, and this becomes that, usually in that old day, wherever you was, whether you was a kid on the playground, whether you was younger person at a bar or whatever, you had a problem with somebody, you took it outside, you threw a couple, you both shook hands, and it was over. It was done. The new way is everybody and their brother gets involved. And so one goes over here. So you have the two people and they get into a conflict. Well, then this one has help. Well, then this one has help. And then this one, and then it all just grows and goes completely out. So if we go in and start stirring up trouble, which keep in mind, we're also monitoring what's going up in the UK rain area. We're also monitoring what's going on in Taiwan. Now we're down in South America. There's all sorts of different places that our attention is split. So it's going to be interesting to see what we actually do about this. So data point, keep it in mind. Moving on. So if you remember from some of the previous reports that we have done, the Taliban did make its threat to China. They wanted money, or they were going after the Belt and Road Initiative. So there was an attack on a Pakistani highway that leads to China. Now, people on social media are all over to this, and they're already saying, hey, they're starting out small and they're giving you little popping warning shots that they were serious. They're going to go after things that will hinder the Belt and Road Initiative. So we will see what this comes. From what I can see, it looks like the Taliban has taken ownership that yes, they did it. I don't know how true that is, but it certainly looks that way. If I find out different, I will come back and correct myself. Next, the ongoing attacks on the U.S. military bases was 10 attacks with both drone and missiles on 6 different military sites, and this all took place in the last 24 hours. Now, what's interesting about this is that it seems to be stepping up, and all it seems to be doing is it's drawing our focus, it's drawing our resources. And when you have a little pop shot here and here and here and here, yeah, it's kind of meaningless because they're not really doing anything. A lot of these reports you see, we either intercept it or it lands and doesn't do anything or something really minor. And I really think that's what its intent is. It's just a little something to get your attention, because all it takes is one little pop, and then maybe a day or two later and another little pop. It puts you on heightened state of alert. And especially if we're not doing anything back to them, they're not on high alert, if you notice that. So think about it with you and your neighbor. If your neighbor takes and fires a bottle rocket over at your house, it gets your attention. What was that? What are you doing? Well, maybe an hour or two later, here comes another one. Well, if you don't do anything about it, you're constantly waiting for that next one. Is this going to break a window? Is this going to, do something or whatever? But if you're not doing anything back to them, they don't care. They're going back inside watching TV kicked up because they don't have to worry about it. So, uh, interesting data point. I think at some point in time, there's going to be some retaliation against this, and it's going to be interesting to see what we really do about it. Next, there is some high numbers of unusual explosions that is continuing to happen on the surface of the sun. This keeps to be popping out. I see a bunch of reports. There's a lot of pictures and images that are coming out from different science societies and whatnot. Social media is sharing it all over the place. The thing that you have to remember is that with these explosions, that's an action. And then with any action, there is a reaction. And that reaction will trigger some sort of action or reaction here on Earth. Now, whether that is something minor and very unnoticeable, it's what usually happens. The only thing is it's a numbers game. At some point in time, it's going to be something a little bit more that you want to take notice, or it's going to be very, very major. So if you don't, have an interest in the solar thing, that's fine. Most people really don't, but you probably should keep an eye open just to make sure you get that data point. Don't have to study it, but just understand that it could happen. Let's move on. So a report from Israeli Channel 12. There was a major cyber attack that took place, and this time it hit the State Archives website. Now, this attack in turn looks like it has erased much of the data stored basically on the archives. That brings it in. This is a prepping channel, so we're going to tie a lot of this into the preparedness aspect. For a lot of the people, that's new, and if you're new, welcome. A lot of people take for granted the internet, and they think that once it's on the internet, it's always on the internet. It's always available to me. I don't need hard copies of anything. I can just go look it up. I don't need to learn that right now. I can just go look it up. I don't need to be shown how to do that because I can just hit play. What happens when there's a cyber attack and somebody deletes a whole bunch of stuff? Is it deleted forever? Probably not. It's probably there somewhere. But your access to it's going to be heavily restricted, and it may be very, very difficult to find. Is it possible to be fully deleted? Suppose it is. And if something really bad happens, if you don't have access to that information or that video or that manual or whatever it is online, what are you going to do about it? Now's a good time to jot down some notes. Now's a good time to print off some pictures and have it laminated, or print out recipes or some how-to things. Uh, Take advantage of the peace and the quiet. What does it take to print out a couple of pages and laminate it yourself? A couple dollars, versus if you didn't have it, might be a good trade-off. Okay, just saying, might be one of the things that you can do. A lot of people have the little jar that they toss the money at the end of the day, which probably isn't common anymore because everybody uses plastic. But if you do collect the change, maybe check the couch cushions, the ashtray in the car, all that different things, the penny you find randomly on the ground, maybe let that add up to a couple of dollars and go print some things out. Let's move on. So the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad was also attacked with a massive barrage of rockets. So now it looks like they are going after different U.S. facilities, not only military bases, but now looks like the uptick in embassies. Now keep in mind that this was in Iraq. So this isn't in Iran or Syria or any of those ones. This is the actual one in Baghdad, Iraq. So it's just a data point, another thing to keep in mind. Next today, it looks like the Senate overwhelmingly voted against a resolution that was introduced by Senator Rand Paul to withdraw the troops in Syria. Now, you can take this any way you want. Should we be in Syria? I don't know. It's hard to say. With the information that we're given, I have an opinion on it, but there's a lot of things that we probably don't know. Now, it's very interesting because the members of Congress get briefs by different intelligence agencies, by the military, in closed doors, that is classified, that you and I may never know. And that's how they can go through and they can make these decisions. So they may know things that we don't, in order for it to be, maybe we should be there. Then again, maybe there's a nefarious reason why we're staying there. I don't know. I just found it interesting that they overwhelmingly said, no, we're going to stick around. Okay, so a couple more things. This one I found very interesting. If you haven't seen it, this is floating around social media. This was posted last night. James O'Keefe has surfaced and put out a teaser video claiming that he has whistleblowers now that he is going to be using, and putting out a video exposing Elon Musk. Now, as far as I know, as of the taping of this video, he has not released anything. It's going to be interesting what he puts out, if he puts out anything at all. Now, as far as I know, anytime he's put out a teaser, he's already has the video and the content made. He's just kind of in that editing phase or whatnot. So my guess is he has something. What he has, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what he produces. Just a data point, okay? Because Elon's kind of been in the news lately. And so we'll see what comes of it, okay? It's just a data point. All right, last thing I want to cover is that with all the different U.S. officials that have come out recently and basically said that there's no more money left, we're reaching and scraping the bottom of the barrel, it looks like Republicans will not vote through any sort of bill for aid for any of their country until there is some sort of major stimulus or major support for the U.S. southern border. Okay, does the U.S. southern border need attention? Yes, it does. There's a ton of video. There's a ton of people that's covering this that is not mainstream news, that just has a YouTube channel or a Rumble channel or whatever, and they're doing amazing work going down there and exposing all this. So, does there need to be something? Yes. Now, one of the things that I saw was supposedly, allegedly, okay? So get that out that this, is completely non-verifiable or being able to prove. But there's supposedly been a leak that there is a recording. So somebody had a device that was recording while they were supposedly giving talks, going back and forth about what they can do about it. And somebody joked and laughed and said, well, if all they want is help, then let's just hire one more border patrol agent, because then that technically is help. And if that if that audio recording is true, that is a very sad state of affairs that our elected or maybe even appointed officials think of this as a joking, laughing matter. I would say most people do not think the southern border is a joking, laughing matter. Most tend to think it's a pretty serious matter that deserves some sort of attention. So, the big thing, though, is that now there's reports that are coming out that is claiming that the current uh, Oval Office administration is considering major domestic policy concessions to unblock legislation for money and aid for the Ukraine, Israeli, and Taiwan areas. Now, I find that to be very interesting, because what concessions are we talking about here? If you go and you look, there was a report. I was trying to find it so I can kind of back myself up with this. But most of the money that we voted through and allocated doesn't leave the United States, because we give them, for the sake of things, $10 million. Well, what they do is they take that money and they put it into the military industrial complex to buy things and to build factories so they can make more things, and to bring people on board so they can come up with different designs, or do whatever. A lot of that money stays here, and that leaves a lot of room for corruption. That leaves a lot of room for money laundering. And with the Pentagon failing its last, 5, 6 different audits, and we're not talking about a few cents or maybe even a couple $1,000s. They were billion, if not trillion dollars that they couldn't find. They had no idea where it went. I mean, I don't know about you, because I'm not rich. You suddenly go through your bank account and you can't find $100. Your eyes go, wait a second, where's that $100? So for them to tack on another 10 plus zeros, and it's no big deal, hey, give us more. Nope, I don't think so. And eventually, I think something's going to end up happening. You're going to get the American people, when they watch all the people that come across the southern border that are getting all the free stuff, and you see it every day. People that are starting to wake up, they're starting to struggle. Maybe they didn't live a high life before, but in these last couple of years, they're really starting to struggle. They're getting less food. They're having to forego on some things, or they may not have, every Netflix and Hulu and all that other stuff. So they have to let some things go so they can make ends meet. And then they look at this other person that can't speak English, that just walked across the border, and suddenly they're getting plane tickets and train tickets, and they're getting all this luxury clothes, and they have a free place to stay, and they're getting money every month and a free cell phone that's better than their cell phone. And suddenly they're going, you know what? Maybe this isn't fair. Maybe I don't like this anymore. And it's going to be interesting, because we're going into a presidential election year for next year. And it's going to be interesting to see what's done about it. Because if you do something about the southern border, depending on how severely you do it, if you go too far, you're going to lose a lot of voter base. If you don't do enough, then you may not get enough of that major concession in order for the Republicans to feel that they got enough to where they will unblock and allow legislation to go through for aid. So it's going to be very interesting. These next couple of weeks and months is going to really, you want to keep an eye on it. Now you want to, because there was, and I didn't put it in here because I couldn't find anything more than a handful of small articles. There was a person that took a vehicle and drove it through a crowd of people waiting on a Christmas parade. And I've been saying this of, if you are going to go out, make sure your head's on a swivel. Be situationally aware. It happened. I don't want to say it happened. I don't want to come on here and say, oh, I'm right. I want to be wrong about that. I want to come back on after Christmas and say, nothing happened. Great. That's awesome news. But it makes a great target. And that's why you can't live in fear. Don't skip one of those because you fear that something's going to happen. Don't put yourself in a bad situation, but make sure you're situationally aware. So don't live in fear. If you live in fear, they win because they don't even have to do anything. The threat of it in your mind makes it to where you didn't go and participate in something that would bring joy to your life and a smile to your face. They win. Okay. So make sure you go out. Make sure you live life to the fullest extent. Life is already short enough. So the way that you win is you go about your life. You find the things that make you smile and bring you joy, and you do it. All you have to do is be situationally aware. So that way, if evil veers its ugly face, you're better prepared for it. You're ready. You know how to react and what to do. You know how to take that situation and turn it into the best case scenario for you. You're not one of the people that's completely caught off guard and running around panicked like a chicken with its head cut off. You've prepared for that. Remember, when you do this for preparing, you prepare for the worst and you hope for the best. So you prepare for that bad situation. You prepare for that bad event all along, hoping that you never have to put any of that you trained for to action. So, all right, video has gone on long enough. You've looked at me and listened to me for a long time. All right, we're going to end on that. Be on the lookout. I got some really good content that's going to be coming out, some new content that you guys haven't seen before. I got some interviews coming up that's going to be coming out. Make sure that you go down the description section. I put some new items up on the merch store. I think there's already been 7 or 8 of you crazy people that want some of the merchandise. So as long as you want it, I'll put it out. I also can get super stickers and super chats. You can't do it on videos, so you can't do it on this, but you can do a super thanks on my reels, or you can send them on the live streams. And by the way, we do our lives every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us. It's just a bunch of like-minded fellow preppers, homesteaders, survivalists, bushcrafters. We all hang out and talk. It's just a live Q&A. Pretty much anything goes as long as you ain't a jerk. If you are, you will be kicked out immediately. My mod is on top of it. So with that, guys, I want you to have an amazing weekend. And I want to hear all about it. If you had some really good stuff, please reach out to me. If you're trying anything new, if you want to share a success story, if you just want to say hi, throw it down in the comments, send me an email, whatever you got to do. With that, more information to come. So make sure that you stay tuned. Make sure that you check the little bell icon, because YouTube has been playing with everybody. So make sure that it's on as long as you want to continue to watch me. So with that, God bless each and every one of you. And above all else, please remember to remain united, because we're all prepping in this together.